Inflation speeds up to a fresh 14-year high in November amid spillover effects on commodity prices after recent typhoons.
What's worse is prices of basic goods could remain high until next year and could even drag economic growth. Shaila Francisco with the big story.
Well, we seem to have some technical problems. So in the meantime, we will go to an interview to help us go to the economic data we have with us over Zoom is ING Bank Senior Economist, Mr. Nicky Mapa. Mr. Mapa, magandang gabi and welcome to the big story.
Good evening and thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Of course, you have Gretchen. She's actually the anchor here. But anyway, sir, let's talk about
Hi, Gretchen. How's it going?
Let's parse through the numbers. Okay, 8%, and just about everybody saying we expect the numbers to remain high well into next year. I think the question on most people's minds is it going to get higher or is it going to stay high lang?
Yeah, so to that question, sir, we do believe that the peak in inflation is yet to come. We are looking at inflation to peak sa December pa po. Some follow through food inflation. One of the main drivers for today's high inflation number was the 10% increase in food and beverage. Yun talaga ang nagpapataas ng overall headline inflation. A lot of it has to do with supply constraints, but as we know, with all the economic activity that we're seeing, we're also feeling some demand side pressure. Kung napansin po natin, medyo traffic na, and then all of our malls are full, it's hard to get a table. So if we look at the inflation numbers, a lot of the items that see faster inflation are related to so-called revenge spending. You know, everybody trying to get out and get back to their normal selves post-pandemic. So restaurants, hotels, personal services, all those are seeing faster inflation.
But sir, that almost sounds like good news, but it's not. I mean, you have people spending, revenge spending, and I suppose that spurs the economy. Pero of course, it's not because it's also inflation.
Yeah, at the same time, we do know that inflation it does tend to take away some of our purchasing power. So with inflation at 8%, that's pretty much an 8% tax. So your 100 pesos now can only buy 92 pesos worth of goods and services. So yes, in a way it's good, but a lot of it is still driven by supply side measures. A lot of it on the food items, so vegetables, fish items, meat prices are all quite elevated. Something that I guess the Department of Agriculture hopefully can address in the coming months to help bring down prices and restore some of the purchasing power for the Filipinos.
Well, it is December and we have our OFWs coming back home. We have remittances, we have tourist spending. How has that played into what we're going to see next come the month of December? And what has the effect of the rate hikes been for the BSP? We've seen that for the past months. Has it infected consumption at all?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Gretchen. Well, the BSP rate hikes are designed to counter demand side pressure in the sense that it makes borrowing or investment outlays more expensive. This tends to have a more long-term gestation. It takes a bit longer for these rate hikes to impact. Usually about 6 to 12 months before any increase by the BSP will be felt in the economy. But right now, I think with the reopening story just so compelling, Filipinos have, I guess, taken it on the chin. This is the first time in forever we're going to have face-to-face Christmas parties. So even if prices are a bit high, it looks like, at least for now, Filipinos are willing to shoulder some of that increased cost. But it has to be, I guess, funded from somewhere. And we're seeing that savings rates have been, Filipinos are dipping deeper into their savings rates just to fund all of this revenge spending because, I guess the reopening story is just too compelling right now.
Well, sir, the numbers for vegetables and sugar sugar and confectionaries, they're pretty big. I suppose
Yeah.
people are expecting better prices by this month because we did import, 150,000 metric tons of sugar, and that was supposed to temper the numbers. But mukhang hindi.
Yeah, mukhang what we're starting to see now is what we call second round effects, meaning if certain items are expensive, it tends to push up the prices for items that are related to these items. Or for example, sugar is expensive. We're starting to see the impact on other food items start to kick in. This is also seen with high flour prices, which has started to feed into higher bread prices. So as inflation stays extremely high for an extended period of time, we're starting to see, you can view inflation as, let's say, it's a virus or it's a sickness. It starts to spread or infect the rest of the CPI basket because everyone is facing higher prices, mahal yung utilities, mahal yung gasolina. What people tend to do is they pass on increased costs to consumers. And this is seen across the board, from services to anything, bread production, food production. So if vegetable prices are expensive, you can expect down the line food items will start to become more expensive as well.
Well, for 2023, the World Bank is projecting slower economic growth for the Philippines. Can you take us through the factors affecting that?
Yeah, Gretchen. Well, I call it the triple threat. It's basically high inflation, rising interest rates, and basically what I call the fiscal handicap. Let's go through the three of them right now. The first is high inflation. Once again, we aren't seeing the impact of increased prices on consumption just yet, mainly because of revenge spending. But eventually, we can expect consumers to pull back, tighten their belts, and try to build up savings again. So that's expected to happen in 2023. That's the first challenge we have to growth. The second challenge we have is rising interest rates. We talked about the BSP increasing rates by 300 basis points. This will slow investment outlays. So let's say if you're in a restaurant, you want to expand business, because rates are so high, you're probably going to postpone some of that investment. Or if you do push through that investment, maybe you're expanding your capacity. Instead of adding 10 tables, you add only 5 tables. So you're hiring less people, so there's less economic activity because of higher rates. The third challenge to our growth story next year is the elevated fiscal debt level. So this will handicap the ability of the national government to spend to support the economy. All on top of that, you have a slowing global economy with the US, Eurozone, all expected to face either a recession or close to a recession. That's going to slow down some of our exports as well.
Okay, ING Bank Senior Economist, Mr. Nicky Mapa, sir, thank you for joining us tonight. Now, circling back to our top story, inflation surged to 8% in November, the fastest in 14 years. Last month's inflation was quicker than the 7.7% print recorded in October. This also marked the 8th straight month that inflation reached or breached the Bangko Central's annual target of 2 to 4%. Year-to-date headline inflation stood at 5.6%. The Philippine Statistics Authority says the sustained acceleration of the Consumer Price Index was mainly due to faster increases in the prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages. The PSA says higher vegetable prices, which were due to recent typhoons, contributed largely to higher inflation in the food basket. In the month of November, core inflation rose to 6% or 6.6% from 6.9% in October.